Communications Incorporated. Good afternoon and welcome to King's News Broom 45 minutes news about Liberia, Africa, and our one world. Today is Friday, August 15, 2025, and I'm Shemon Dia presenting. In the headlines, Chief Justice Yaden Yo resigns as Chief Justice of Liberia, but President Joseph Boakai, Justice Minister Council also had 12 Speaker Rachel Cohn, Pro Tem Yomdekanga Lawrence, and others boycott retirement ceremony. Congress for Democratic Change announces preparations for possible arrangements for orderly transition to new party headquarters, accuses civil law court resident George Smith of dismissing its case without hearing the merits. And also in the news this afternoon, Supreme Court of Liberia issues 6 months suspension without paid on Safe Judicial Circuit Court of Monserrado County Judge Kennedy P. Body for ethical misconduct. Away from home, the women at the community kitchen in the besieged Sudanese city of Al-Fashad are sitting in hovels of desperation. More than 100 organizations have signed a joint letter calling on Israel to stop the weaponization of aid into Gaza as starvation deepens. These plus the news bulletin voices of those making the news at our package. We'll take a short break to be right back. Welcome back at this juncture. We join Stephen Compton with the news bulletin.
Top government officials were on Thursday observed to have been absent during the ceremonies marking the official retirement of Chief Justice Sian Yol as Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. Justice Yol, who reached her constitutional retirement age on June 26, she will not turn over power until closing of the Supreme Court in August. Among top officials who were absent include President Joseph Boakai, Justice Minister Councillor Oswald Tue, House Speaker Rachel Cohn, and Senate Pro Tem Yomdekanga Lawrence. The absence of these officials sparked concerns as there have been existing disagreement among members of the executives over Chief Justice Yol's alleged refusal to hand over power in June of this year. Some legal luminaries and political pundits are insinuating that the absence of the president and other top government officials must been at the result of previous disagreement over the president's plan to commission the new Chief Justice Yamin Bese, while Justice Sanayo still hold on power. The Congress for Democratic Change says preparations are underway for the party to make arrangement for an orderly transition to a new national headquarters. The disclosure made by CDC's national chairman Janka Cole during a press conference at the party's headquarters emphasized former President Josh Weird's announcement commitment to construct a national headquarters for the CDC. Cole, who spoke in response to the 6th Judicial Circuit Court of Monserrado County eviction order, pointed out abuse of judicial discretion against the CDC, adding that it undermines the rule of law and threatens Liberia's democratic stability. According to him, despite the party filing a lawsuit for specific performance at the Civil Law Court seeking judicial enforcement of the sale contract, Judge Smith dismissed the case without hearing its merit, adding it violates Section 11.21d of the Liberian Civil Procedure Law. Cole noted that the same court entertained a summary proceeding for property recovery, while the CDC's pending case remained unresolved, further expressing the former ruling party's commitment to a principle that it upholds the rule of law. The CDC national chairman at the same time noted that departure from standard procedure raises serious concerns about judiciary impartiality and potential prejudice against the CDC. He added that while the party remains steadfast in its respect for the law, it condemns arbitrary judiciary's action that jeopardizes fairness, pointing out that such the party works toward a lawful resolution of the matter, a chain that challenged all parties seems to remain kind and patient. The Supreme Court has suspended the sixth Judicial Circuit Court of Monserrado County Judge Kennedy P. Body for 6 months without pay. During its March 10, AD 2025 sitting, the High Court noted that its decision comes following the finding of ethical misconduct by the Judiciary Inquiry Commission against the sixth Judicial Circuit Court judge. The Supreme Court added that the disciplinary action is in response to a complaint filed by Prince Cannon, which was investigated by the JRC. According to a two-page judgment obtained from the Supreme Court, Judge P. Body violated multiple provisions of the judiciary canons, especially canons 12, 13, 28, 29, 35, and 38. While the JRC recommended disciplinary action, the Supreme Court upheld the recommendation with a slight modification, imposing a 6-month suspension without pay or benefit as outlined in the August 14 judgment. The sixth Judiciary Circuit Court judge suspension is considered a significant stance implemented by the nation's highest court in judiciary accountability, aimed at reinforcing the importance of upholding the ethical standard expected of members of the judiciary. Aggrieved employees of the Ministry of Transport on Thursday petitioned the U.S. Embassy in Monrovia to intervene in the government's controversial concession agreement with the Liberia Traffic Management Incorporated. LTMI 25 years a contract signed with the Liberian government has stripped major routes of the Transport Ministry, something have sparked several protests and petitions of the national legislature. Both houses of the legislature have sent written President Joseph Boakai calling for a halt of all Liberia traffic management operations and launched an investigation. Ministry of Transport Director for Inspection Africanus Famuled, who spoke on behalf of the aggrieved transport employees, accused Senator Sir Joseph Emmanuel Zopenon, Representative Bernard Blow Benson, James Collet, Minister of Justice Oswald Twe, and Police Inspector General Gregory Coleman of conflict of interest. Although the transport employees and the commercial drivers on separate occasion petitioned the national legislature, which had resulted the legislature of communicating with President Joseph Boakai to halt the LMTR's operation, there are reports that the Liberia Traffic Management is still carrying out its operation. The U.S. Embassy petition saw the convergence of dozens of citizens and employee of the transport ministry chanting different slogans against what they termed illegal operation of the Liberia traffic management. Bond County District 7 former lawmaker Edward Kafia has underscored the need for a nationally grown sustainable waste management in the country, serving as keynote speaker at the induction of the new leadership of the National Association Primary Waste Community-Based Enterprises Thursday. Former Representative Kafia urged the leadership to stop treating waste like trash. The former Bond County lawmaker called for a strategic action plan towards what he described as mounting waste management crisis in Liberia. Addressing scores of dignitaries, environmental advocates, government officials, and the newly inducted waste sector leaders at the YMCA on Broad Street, Cafiat said the occasion is not as a normal routine induction, but a potential turning point for the country's waste management sector, including environmental and public health trajectory. Kafia, who is the Chief Executive Officer of Green Guard Eco Solution Incorporated, a Liberian-owned waste-to-energy company, called for urgent and transformative action in the country waste sector. Meanwhile, the newly president of Nakobe, Augustine P., in his address underscores his strategic period framework aimed at overhauling Liberia's waste management system and positioning the organization as a central player in national development and public health. The organization's new plan, including building modern waste transformed section and sector, launching community recycling cooperative, establishing centers, and running educational campaign in schools and marketplaces. It also vowed to negotiate fairer payment system for waste workers and provide capacity building opportunity, noting that the organization should not only be a service provider but a partner in national waste policy and planning. Still with more developments, the Ministry of Commerce and Industry has officially launched the National Implementation Strategy of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area in order to trade their goods and services on the global scale. Speaking during the launching ceremony, Commerce and Industry Minister Mandalin Dakosa reaffirmed the government's commitment in making small and medium enterprises to reach the continental market. Minister Dakosa encouraged Liberian manufacturers to do all they can to ensure that their products make good use of the strategy to reshape the continent trade. Performing the launching of the strategy, the chairman of the Senate Committee on Commerce and Industry, Ellis Italo, said the African Continental Free Trade Area will go a long way in empowering the Liberian sector. Italo assured the Ministry of Commerce and Industry of the legislature's support in empowering Liberia businesses in exporting the goods and services on the continent and global market. The African Continental Free Trade Area was established by the African Union in March 21, 2018, purposely to integrate trade on the African continent and the rest of the globe. The Center for Transparency and Accountability in Liberia has concluded a one-day anti-corruption training for officials of the Margibi Service Center intended to strengthen political governance and accountability in the county. Speaking in an interview Thursday, Center's project officer Towon Jensi said the initiative is part of ongoing effort to build capacity in the fight against corruption. According to him, the training public officials on anti-corruption practices is important because those involved in service delivery are often the first line of defense. Jensi noted that the section focused on equipping participants with the knowledge and tools to identify, avoid, and address corrupt practices, thereby improving transparency and public trust in local governance. The National Fishery and Aquaculture Authority has launched a week-long aquaculture training program for fishmongers in Bond County. The training aims to improve fish farmers, technicians, introduce update aquaculture technology, and promote knowledge exchange. NAFA's newly launched aquaculture training will enable participants learn about the fish biology and construction and maintenance, feed production, water quality monitoring, sexing of fish, record keeping, and sustainable fish farming techniques. According to NAFA, the program combines classroom-based instruction with practical hands-on session at selected private fish farms with over 150 fish farmers in Bond County expected to participate in the training, which commenced. NAFA Director for Aquaculture and Inland Fishery, Zizit Badet, described the training as a major milestone in the country development sector, adding that the program is supported by the World Bank through the Liberia Sustainable Management Fishery Project. While they emphasized that the government's commitment to transforming the sector into a sustainable income-generating industry, stating that the initiative will enhance food security, promote rural economic growth, and create employment opportunities. News Bulletin is back to you.
Stephen, content with the news bulletin. The news bulletin is a regular feature on King's Newsroom. A reminder, you're listening to King's Newsroom, 45 minutes news about Liberia, Africa, and our one world. Stories will follow in this afternoon. Justice Siaden Yo resigns as Chief Justice of Liberia, but President Joseph Boakai, Justice Minister Councilor Oswald 12, Speaker Rachel Cohn, Pro Tem Yomli Kanga Lawrence, and others boycott retirement ceremony. Congress for Democratic Change announces preparations for possible arrangements for orderly transition to new party headquarters, accuses civil law court resident George Smith of dismissing its case without hearing the merits. Supreme Court of Liberia issues 6 months suspension without paid on Chief Judicial Circuit Court of Monserrado County Judge Kennedy Peabody for ethical misconduct. Away from home, the women at the community kitchen in the besieged Sudanese city of Al-Fashar are sitting in hurdles of desperation. More than 100 organizations have signed a joint letter calling on Israel to stop the weaponization of aid into Gaza as starvation deepens. We'll take a break to be back with voices of the newsmakers. Welcome back and thanks for being there. The Congress for Democratic Change says preparations are on the way for the party to make arrangements for an orderly transition to a new national headquarters. The disclosure made by CDC's national chairman Janga Ko during a major press conference at the party's headquarters emphasizes former President George Weah announced commitment to construct a national headquarters for the CDC. Ko, who spoke in response to the Chief Judicial Circuit Court of Monserrado County eviction order, pointed out abuse of judicial discretion against the CDC, adding that undermines the rule of law and threatens Liberia's democratic stability.
It urges all partisans to remain calm and patient in preparation for all contingencies, as we expect that the appeal at the Supreme Court could go either way. The CDC is in the process of making arrangement for an orderly transition to a new national headquarters in the event where all our legal options have been exhausted. Thank you very much.
The CDC national chairman at the same time noted that departure from standard procedure raises serious concerns about judicial impartiality and potential prejudice against the CDC. He added that while the party remains steadfast in its respect for the rule of law, it condemns arbitrary judicial actions that jeopardize fairness, pointing out that as the party works toward a lawful resolution of the matter, it challenged all partisans to remain calm.
CDC motion to dismiss on ground of pendency and a subsequent right of certiorari filed with the Chief of Justice, Her Honor Senator Clinton Johnson, were both denied. These serious denials, without due consideration of the legal merits of the CDC case and arguments, constitute a gross abuse of judicial discretion, undermining the rule of law in the Republic of Liberia and threatening Liberia's democratic stability. The CDC has announced appeals to the Honorable Supreme Court of the Republic of Liberia in both their specific performance and summary proceeding cases. The bill of exceptions for these two cases have been duly prepared and approved by George Smith and the CDC team of legal experts is finalizing the appeal process at the Supreme Court of Liberia in line with the law in this jurisdiction. The CDC takes note of a deeply troubling directive in George Smith's ruling, the unprecedented order mandating the Liberian National Police intervention. Rather than using the court sheriff in line with the laws and the practice in this jurisdiction. Because this is a civil property case. This departure from standard judicial procedure raises serious concern about judicial impartiality and the potential prejudice against the Congress for Democratic Change.
CDC Acting National Chairman Anthony Law Janka there speaking during a major press conference at the party headquarters on Thursday. Aggrieved employees of the Ministry of Transport on Thursday petitioned the U.S. Embassy near Monrovia to intervene in the government's controversial concession agreement with Liberia Traffic Management Incorporated. LTMI 25 years contract signed with the Liberian government has stripped major roles of the Ministry of Transport, something that has sparked several protests and petitions of the National Legislature. Ministry of Transport Director for Inspection Africanus Famole, who spoke on behalf of the aggrieved transport employees, accused Senators Sir Joseph Emmanuel Zoe Pennon, Representatives Bernard Blue Benson, James Collet, Minister of Justice Oza Twell, and Police Inspector General Gregory Kumon as people with conflict of interest.
Get We
need justice and fairness. A concession doesn't have two documents, two agreements. Which, of course, we are not saying the government, but the two documents, which one? Yeah. If they say the one that they just passed, the fake one, related to transport. Another one says transport will be involved, but people will let him just travel. They say that the one the whole government passed, but the one that says that transport will not be involved with any activity related to transport. That one got problem. So if it is the government that says that, then it means that the U.S. embassy today will lead to people being sanctioned. We are requesting that. We are not saying they should. We are requesting based on an illegal why will you say transport ministry and reporting up to 12 million to the government every year? Situated why it is illegal. The guy in question who is the head of the he is a Senate member of the Hezbollah in Lebanon. Can you imagine that? We don't think that we're ready to operate with a kind of contestation. The petition that we have in possession. Oh yeah, what are some of those names? From a graduate promo, the Justice Minister of Hospital Tour, TJ Sir Joseph, Zoe Emmanuel Pennon.
His Africanus Famole, Ministry of Transport Director for Inspection, speaking during the aggrieved Transport Ministry, the employees' petition with the U.S. Embassy. Bond County District 7 former Lord Mayor Edward Kafia has underscored the need for a nationally grown sustainable waste management in the country, serving as keynote speaker at the induction of the new leadership of the National Association primary waste community-based enterprises Thursday. Former Representative Kafia urged the leadership to stop treating waste like trash. The former Bond County lawmaker called for a strategic action plan toward what he described as mounting waste management crisis in the country.
We are here to induct new leadership of the waste management enterprises, and with them, a new chapter in our nation, one that must encourage and support nationally grown innovations for sustainable waste management in our country. This is not just another occasion in the existence of the waste management enterprises. This is a turning point. A practice that ensures employment of our vulnerable youth population and the creation of local wealth that leads to national macroeconomic and development of our country. For too long, we have turned a blind eye on the waste piling up in our street, clogging our drainage system and rivers, and poisoning our environment. The sight of plastic bags tangled in trees and mountains of garbage smothering on the outskirts of our cities have become a tragic norm. These aren't just eyesores. These are public health crises and environmental disasters. They are a sign that there is something fundamentally wrong with how we manage our waste in our country. A country that is so small in size and population, by that maxim, we produce something in a way that is manageable if innovation is there. But the way we have managed it shows that we have addressed waste management in a completely updated fashion. For example, our glorified dump sites or landfill, such as the Wellington site, are not only out of date, but also inhibit innovation and store economic growth while polluting our